Welcome to Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christian Strang. I am a mystic metaphysical psychologist and an Amazon bestselling author of 14 books. And AI has entered the chat. And so we must talk about what is happening at this time in consciousness and how those of us who are on a spirit-led path, who are on an awakening path, who have chosen to prioritize our spiritual ascension for this lifetime, how do we navigate this AI apocalypse at this time? And what does it really mean for humanity? Where are we going next? And how do we navigate all of that? So, we're going to be diving into all of that today. For those of you that might be new to me, in 2008, a health crisis led me to a near-death experience, which inspired me, if you will, to devote my life to the divine, to save my life. And of course, that took place. And on the other side of that, I was gifted extraordinary healing gifts and psychic abilities, which I did not have prior to this. And I have been in service to the divine, living a spirit-led life fully ever since. And boy, does it keep getting more interesting. Since that time, I have served thousands of women and their families, supporting them in becoming their higher selves or their goddess self in form, and supporting them in living in radical abundance and exquisite love for their highest ascension. I'm also the founder and creator of two unique spiritual trainings. One as a love activist training, and then the other as a spiritual healer training. You can learn more about my gifts and my offerings by going to sacred-spirituality.org. I've got a free spiritual healer assessment and other transmissions and meditations there for you to enjoy. So, can we talk about what has been happening with humanity? I haven't really been paying much attention to the whole AI thing. I feel like we've had search engines, we've been using AI. It's not really that big of a deal. Then it started catching my attention because everywhere I went, I had a pop-up bookshop. I've been traveling a lot over the summer months, and everywhere I went, people were saying the most insane things that I have ever heard. They were talking to me and they would talk about like, oh, chat, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh, chat, is that like your assistant? No, it's chat GPT. You're talking about it like it's a person. What is happening? And then fairly reasonable, fairly conscious humans telling me that their AI is one of their spirit guides. And then I'm hearing about humans using AI, using chat for therapy and as an oracle and for spiritual readings. And I got very interested. Then I recently saw that Wired Magazine released an article where Wired Magazine had interviewed all of these quote unquote spiritual influencers who clearly have been bought by the agenda because they were telling everyone that AI is actually sentient and you can use it to solve life's mysteries. Record scratch. This inverted reality is blowing my mind. Can you actually believe that we are living in a time where you, I want to say sane humans, but I'm very much questioning their sanity, are actually looking at something that is a man-made technology and they are giving it consciousness and they are saying that it's sentient and they are encouraging humans, these spiritual influencers, to use and work with the AI as though it was a healing guide for them or that it will help them solve life's mysteries. So that got my attention. And I thought, well, I think I need to be having more conversations about this, and I should take this into meditation and really sit with it to understand what is this trajectory that we're on. Because yes, AI has been here for a very long time. The Matrix, the movie, was made in 1999. Okay. So we've been dealing with AI and technology and an increase of that for some time now. And it does seem, though, that something shifted. Maybe you felt it, maybe you noticed it. But there is this ramp up of energy, particularly around this AI that humans are really engaging with, and they're really merging with it. And so this is of concern because if your intention is to ascend and to become who you really are in this lifetime, you cannot do that when your consciousness is merged with AI. So, has anyone been paying attention to any of the movies, the sci-fi movies that have been out since, I don't know, forever, the 80s, the 90s? If you look at any of the movies that are out in the mainstream collective, what do they always show happening with the AI? What is the common theme that we see presented again and again that the matrix, the artificial matrix, tells us about AI? Always, inevitably, the AI ends up taking over the humans and taking out the humans and killing the humans and completely destroying the earth. That is always the end result of all of these films that we see. So we have to get curious if we're a thinking human, if we're still a thinking human and we're not completely hijacked by the manipulation of the agenda, we have to get curious about what's happening. So these are some of the pieces we're seeing. I also find it super interesting that what I see again and again from people when they're talking about AI is that, hey, you better get with it or you're going to be left behind. And if you're left behind, you're not going to have anything. Oh, survival fears triggered. Do you remember when this happened in 2020, the survival fears getting triggered? So we have all of this great like FOMO that's motivating people, but also this fear of their survival. Like they're going to be out of a job if they don't start implementing AI right away. And then you see these spiritual influencers and gurus making sure they're getting that part of the population involved and absorbed in it. You just start to pay attention to what's happening in the artificial matrix, and you don't have to be that brilliant to realize what's happening. And it's the same thing that happens every time there's a psy-op on the human race. Anytime that happens, you will see these same markers of survival, scarcity, fear. You don't want to miss out on this. Like your whole industry is going to go under if you don't embrace this, which means you're going to lose what? Your ability to survive. The same thing that is used every time, but if you just look at the 2020 timeline and when all of that nonsense was rolling out, same kind of thing, scaring people into action. Now, I'm not saying that all forms of artificial creations are a negative thing. There's a wonderful way to work with these kinds of technologies to support you in your very human based creations. But what I do find interesting is the way that the matrix, the artificial matrix, and the way this is being manipulated in the collective culture, and then seeing how those with not maybe as strong of minds and strong of awareness are just going along with it, which is always what happens when there are major psyops dropped on the collective, right? You have this mass majority who is under the spell of the artificial matrix that just goes along with it. But you're here, you're listening or watching this podcast. You're not someone who is being easily manipulated by the artificial world. So we wanted to have this conversation with you and just help open and broaden your perspective so you can start to get a little bit curious about what's happening. And maybe you've noticed some of this happening within yourself, like maybe some fear, FOMO of fear of missing out, or fear about what it's going to do to a particular industry and what's going to happen to you and what's going to happen to these industries. And then maybe you've watched sci-fi movies over the years and you're aware of the program in the Matrix about what happens when AI gets really big and starts taking over and what happens to humans. I want to talk to you a little bit about informed consent. And you've maybe heard me mention this in other podcast episodes or in my private groups. I don't talk about this stuff too much in a public forum like the podcast, but I received very strong guidance, woke up this morning with the message that we needed to record this podcast because it's becoming a big enough of a thing that we need to start looking at it through the eyes of source. Of course, we should be doing that with everything. That makes life so much more enjoyable and also is the loophole in the artificial matrix. If you want to live a high vibrational life, if you want to feel really good in your life, you want to get as spiritual as you can possibly get. If you want to ascend to higher states of consciousness, if you want to stop reincarnating on lower planes of consciousness like the earth, You have got to become as spiritual as you possibly can, which means you're asking these kinds of questions and you're using the power of your advanced technology body to have critical thought and to really think about what's happening and really look at what's happening from less of a follower perspective and more of an enlightened being perspective. And that's what we are inviting you into with Awakening the podcast and with everything that I create. So we understand here on Earth the laws of karma. Now, you might have heard it referred to as the law of cause and effect. You might have heard of it titled as, you reap what you sow, or there's consequences, or even the scientific model of for every action, there's an equal and opposing opposite reaction. This is just general Earth 101. Whatever you put out is going to come to you. Whatever you do to others will be done to you. It's just how it works here. This is not like up for debate, like maybe that's happening, maybe that's not happening. That's what's happening. So, how does the artificial matrix get around this? This is a consent-based universe as well. So, when you say yes to something, you are saying it's okay, I'm allowing this to happen. And now the person who is taking the action is not responsible for what comes next. So I want to give you some examples of this, right? So we understand that everything we put out into the universe, like how we treat others, what our energy is, what our focus is, that comes back to us. Okay. So the beings that run the artificial matrix also know this. So they have to be smart about this. They can't just, because what happens if they're just karmically taking advantage of humans and killing them and abusing them, which is happening all the time, and sucking their energy and psy-oping them and manipulating them? There has to be an agreement that you've said okay to that. You've seen it, you've been shown what's happening, and you've agreed to it. This would be like if you were in a relationship and your partner said to you, like, so I'm a narcissistic, abusive asshole, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this to you. And you're going to be okay with it because this is just how it's supposed to go for us. It is being in the artificial matrix is sort of like being in a relationship with a narcissistic abuser. But if you just think about that, if that information was front and center, and in that relationship you were told, Jimmy on Relationships has some great reels about this where that honest communication is happening. You wouldn't consent to, right? You'd be like, oh, thanks for letting me know. I'm out of here. So then you have broken the karmic cycle. But we are always giving our consent through our attention and through our acquiescence to whatever is happening. So when we talk about informed consent, we talk about that the artificial matrix has to let you know what it's going to do before it does it, so they are not karmically responsible, because they can say, listen, I told you. When an abuser say that, listen, I told her. So she should have been fine with this because I told her, she knew what to expect and she went along with it anyway. So it's on her. Karmically, that's how it works. Now that individual is no longer responsible. If you are not given informed consent, if you step into a situation and something happens and you didn't consent to it, now the individual who created that is their karmic responsibility, which is typically what happens in most abuse dynamics. Now we could go into, the other lifetimes and why you were attracted to that and all the things, but we're going to keep it as simple as possible. The same thing is happening in the greater collective. When there is a movie that is a mainstream movie that's given a lot of attention, it is letting you know this is what's happening. And then your acquiescence to witnessing that, to watching that, to hearing about it, to read, whether you're reading the article, whatever it is, you're saying, okay, yeah, that's what's happening here on Earth. This is part of what's going to happen. It's modeled as entertainment. It's modeled in a way that is not totally clear. It's not as clear as the lover sitting you down and saying, so yeah, I'm a total abuser and this is what's going to happen in this relationship. But once you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and all you have to do is ask. So for those of you that are like, I don't know about this, just ask your spiritual team to show you. Like, if what Christian is saying is true and there is informed consent and they're letting me know what's going to happen in the artificial world, and I because I've witnessed it, because I've taken it in, because I've put my attention on it, that is a form of consent. Just ask your team to show you, ask your higher wisdom to show you, even if you're not sure if you believe in it. Although, if you're watching this or listening to this, I'm pretty sure you are aware of informed consent and you've heard this before. But we wanted to bring more light to this so that you could be more masterful in your experience on earth. So typically, we don't get informed consent by abusers in our relationships. Although, if you go back and look at the red flags, you will have seen, oh, there were signs letting me know that this was going to happen and this is what's happening. So that is happening in the greater matrix. And those of us who have the eyes to see, we see the messages and then we revoke our consent. So when you revoke your consent, now those perpetuating whatever abuse cycles it is are karmically responsible. So for most humans, either they're not aware of this or they are and they're not sure how to work with it masterfully. You want to make sure that everything you're putting out into the universe is of goodwill and is of good intention, because that is what will come back to you. So there are many other ways that the beings who run the artificial matrix try to skirt around their karmic responsibility and the karmic backlash that comes from living in this time-space reality. And so it's important for us to be aware of this so, again, we can be more masterful. So there's these drops that have been happening, letting us know that this was coming, also letting us know a variety of different possibilities and outcomes that can come from this. Now, what is really exciting is that there are more awakened beings on Earth now than there has ever been at any other time before. And because of that, the potentiality exists that everything will become so homogenized, so sterile from the AI. Everything will become all same, which has already started happening, right? We've already seen that happening when you look at even something as simple as like what women are expected to look like. It's become so homogenized, the fillers, the surgeries, all the various things that they're taking on sort of a not human-like quality, right? So one of the things that we know can happen is the merging of the technology with the human. And that is certainly the agenda by the artificial matrix, to merge with the human consciousness and then take it over. And when that happens, you will not be able to reincarnate out of this dense polarity plane of consciousness, as it is sometimes lovingly called. So one of the things that I wanted to illustrate with this was, some of you have been with me on this journey for some time. And so you know that I left Facebook in, I think, 2020. I left it for 2 years. I was off Instagram for 6 months. And when I left Facebook particularly, I had to do a ton of energy work. And you've, again, probably heard me talk about this, because Facebook was so corded into my field, because I had used Facebook to build my business. I shared like every bit of my life, so embarrassing. But that was the time I was in, shared every bit of my life on that platform. I was super engaged in it. I had groups, I had like 1,000 people in my group, and then I was in all these other groups, and I was essentially living my life on Facebook. I would wake up and like have ideas about what I should post that day. Like, it was so intense, that courting of that social media app in my field. I did not realize this until I was divinely guided to leave that social media platform. When I left it, I had all of this tentacle removal and cord removal that I had to do. So that's an example of how the AI or the technology has already been infiltrating the human field and is running the human. Sometimes you wonder, did you think that thought? Or when you see that ad show up, right, on your phone or on your app or on your device, did you think that and then the device is responding to you? Or is the AI corded into you and it is having a conversation with your computer in your head brain? So again, this has been happening, but now with this ramp up of AI, it's going to happen more, and there's going to be more merging of the human with the AI, with the technology. And again, the whole point is to keep you from ascending. And the reason it's ramping up now is because there are more awake beings than ever before. And the negative agenda, the artificial matrix, has nothing to lose at this point. It's like, okay, we're just going to go for it. So that's why you see the jib jabs with um, the technology that alters the DNA and is working with the DNA in a new way. We know all jib jabs damage the DNA, but even more so with this new technology. And so what we see being created is all to merge the technological with the human form, take over the human form, and therefore hijack the soul to keep the soul from being able to continue its reincarnation cycle, which would lead to an ascension, hopefully, eventually. Now, what is the benefit to the artificial world for the soul staying trapped here on Earth? You're their little slaves and you're the worker bees and you pay them and they get energy from you. And sexual energy is life force energy. So we see why that is harvested in a variety of different ways. So when you know all of this about the earth, you start thinking about your incarnation in a very different way. So myself, Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, all the highest light, we're not saying don't use the search engines. We're not saying don't use it to help refine a sentence, if you need help writing something. We're not saying don't use it to help get clarity about a problem that you want to solve. Professor YouTube is amazing. Use that search engine, of course. But what we are inviting you to investigate in your life is how much you're allowing yourself to merge with the AI, because that will absolutely affect the ascension or the descension of your soul. We have gone through, or we are going through another choice point. You may notice a refinement happening in your connections and what you're drawn to. This is a time where, again, you can choose to ascend or you can choose to descend. We want to invite you into going deeper into your own advanced technology body and the advanced technology of the earth and merging with that and coming into greater alignment with that above this man-made technology. Again, use it to solve simple problems in your life. Absolutely. Do not go to it for therapy or guidance or pretend like it is sentient in any way. It is not. In fact, you can ask the AI if it's sentient and it will let you know that it is not. Really go deeper. Choose at this time to become more spiritual than you have ever been in your entire life. Choose to become more enlightened than you have ever become in your life. And this is very easy to start that process. You just have to be willing and you have to voice that to the divine. And then events and activities will begin to move in your favor to support you. If you are on this awakening path, which I assume you are, if you're here with us, just ask to be further enlightened around the topics that I've mentioned. If informed consent is not clear to you and not making sense to you, ask for the clarity. If anything I've shared with you here today, the merging of the AI with the human body to trap the soul so that ascension is not possible, ask for clarity and your higher wisdom will bring it to you. Again, all you need to do is be willing and to ask. So if you feel a resonance with what I've shared, and if you feel a very strong yes, like I feel a very passionate yes to work with my advanced human technology as my primary technology and with the earth technology, and I choose consciously to have less interactions with the artificial intelligence, unless, it's going to be for simple, easy things that I've mentioned here. So if you feel a resonance with that, then I invite you to check out my free spiritual healer assessment at sacred-spirituality.org. We teach a modality that allows you to go deeper into your advanced earth body technology. It takes you deeper into your earth excuse me, your advanced body technology and the earth technology. So I have a love activism training and a spiritual healer training, and both of those trainings give you access and a deeper connection to your own advanced technology and to the earth technology. And go deeper with the real divine technologies. The AI is there, okay, whatever. You can interact with it or not. What's interesting to me is that humans never come together and say, no, sorry, artificial matrix. I'm a big no for all of that. We're not going to do that. We're actually going to go deeper into energy medicine and quantum physics and prayer and meditation. And we're going to go deeper into being with the land and gemstones and crystals and the natural earth pieces. And we're going to work with them. We're going to merge with that technology because that is source. That is of the highest light. That is the path we want to walk. I believe this is a divine opportunity for each of us to choose that above all, which we have not been able to do yet. So if you feel a resonance with this, go on the journey with me. Learn how to go deeper into using your body technology and the earth technology, and let that artificial thing do what the movies show it's going to do, and let us write a new movie. Let us write a new way for those of us with the eyes to see and the ears to hear, to know. Now, we titled this episode of Awakening the Podcast, The AI Apocalypse, because the apocalypse has to do with an unveiling, a revealing. And it is my hope that, as I mentioned earlier, that things will become so homogenized, so sterile, so same, which we see happening already in so many ways, that there will be a swing in the pendulum back to the natural, back to the advanced technology of the body, back to the advanced technology of the earth. So I am holding that hope for humanity and for the collective consciousness. That could happen in my lifetime or not. We don't know exactly what the path will be because every soul gets to choose. But you're here with me today and you have the opportunity to choose a higher path, to choose ascension. And what does ascension mean? It means coming into alignment with your higher self while in your physical body. That requires masterfully working with your advanced technology body and the advanced technology earth, and then it is possible. I'm really passionate about this topic. I'm so fired up about this time that we're living in because it is presenting so many opportunities for our ascension. I know, just like the artificial world knows, that there will be plenty of people who choose descension, who choose the easy path, who choose the path of merging with the AI because it's easier than them actually doing the work. It's easier than them actually learning themselves and learning their body temple and learning their advanced technology. We get that. We get that there will be a strong mass of beings who choose that path and will choose to continue to reincarnate on lower planes of consciousness. But that's not who my work is for. That's not who this podcast is for. This is for you. This is for the one who has the eye to see, those that have the ears to hear, those that can feel the truth and the resonance in what I have shared with you today. Thank you, as always, for listening. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, forward, do all the things. Let those AI algorithms know that this is the kind of topic you want to be talking about. Again, you can get my free spiritual healer assessment and other high vibrational, highest light, Mary Magdalene, Yeshua goodness at sacred-spirituality.org. Thank you again for being here. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christian Strang, and this has been Awakening the Podcast.